الرحمن الرحيم الذين أخرجوا من ديارهم بغير حق إلا أن يقولوا ربنا الله ولولا دفع الله الناس بعضهم ببعض لهدمت صوامع وبيع وصلوات يذكر فيها اسم الله كثيرا ولينصرن الله من ينصره إن الله لقوي عزيز الذين إن مكناهم في الأرض أقاموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة وأمروا بالمعروف ونهوا عن المنكر ولله عاقبة الأمور وإن يكذبوك فقد كذبت قبلهم قوم نوح وعاد وثمود وقوم إبراهيم وقوم لوط صدق الله العظيم. They are those who have been expelled from their homes unjustly only because they say, "Our Lord is Allah." For had it not been that Allah checks one city, monasteries, churches, synagogues, and mosques, wherein the name of Allah is mentioned much, would surely have been pulled down. Verily, Allah will help those who help His cause. Truly, Allah is all strong, almighty. The ones who help Allah are those who, when we give them power in the land, establish prayer, give charity, and bid what is fair, and forbid what is unfair. And with Allah lies the fate of all matters. And if they reject you, so did reject the people of Noah, and Ad, and Thamud, and the people of Abraham, and the people of Lot. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair. It's an honor and pleasure for me to welcome at the NIAMA meeting. That's a kickoff meeting for the election 2020 season. And these verses were picked by Saad himself. We asked him to pick some verses that are politically relevant, so he just Googled it and came up with these. But the message is very profound. The people who are driven out from their homes because of oppression, and if this kind of oppression continues, then the peace of a society is destroyed. And in such a situation, neither mosques, nor synagogues, nor churches would survive. So God Almighty has a way of replacing those people with the people who are just. And justice is not a choice, it's a duty. We as Muslims, we're supposed to pray 5 times a day. Many of us don't, but we all go and pray at least once a week on Jummah. And the verse that is recited in the sermon of Jummah every time is "Inna Allah ya'murukum bil 'adli wal ihsan." Allah orders you to be just and do excellence and goodness. So just establishing justice in a society is not a choice, it's a duty of all of us. And that's why we founded NIAMA, to facilitate the Muslims in participating in a process of electing people who are fair, in people who are committed to the community, and those whom we expect to enforce justice in the society. And we founded this organization about 2 years ago, and Brother Wasim Iftikhar, who was the past president, has been the driving force behind the effort, and many of us helping him out. We are all volunteers. And at this time I would like to invite Brother Wasim Iftikhar to come and introduce our honorable guests here, Congressman Schneider, who is about to
pleasure to see all of you assembled under one roof. Last year when we were here, I think we kind of started this affiliation with you on this front, and I'm very glad that all of you, and I believe everybody, by the time I'm done, this house will be full. Without further ado, it's my pleasure, my privilege, and an honor to introduce our representatives from the 10th representative in Congress from 10th district, Mr. Brad Schneider. Let me tell you, I'm an extempore speaker. I don't normally prepare speeches, and I just observe people as much as I can. I had the privilege of going around during my election process and also during my interaction. Last week there was a meeting of ETO, last week or 2 weeks ago, and I attended that seminar, which was Stop ETO. Almost everybody had left the room, and Honorable Brad Schneider was sitting next to a mother who obviously had a baby with leukemia. The hall was almost empty, and I saw our good congressman sit, hold her hands and console her in spite of her busy. This was a human part of our congressman that really touched my heart. And I said, no formal introduction. This is an introduction of a man who cares about his constituents. And he has been around. With warm greetings to him, I would like to welcome our Congressman Brad Schneider. Give him a rousing welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Wasim. Thank you for the nice introduction. Good evening, everybody. It's an honor to be here. Where'd Saad go? That was an inspired reading of the Quran. It reminded me of my favorite, one of my favorite verses. Well, I'll throw out two of my favorite verses. The first one is Psalm 33, how good it is for brothers and sisters to sit together. It's so good to be here with you and to be together. And it's who we are as a community. Coming together as a community, there's nothing we can't do, and I'll come to that in a second. But Micah, chapter 6, verse 8, says, what does God ask of you, Adam? It says, it is to pursue justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Let's see what you saw when I was talking to a mother. Her son Luke is 3 years old, is fighting leukemia. It's mercy. We are in a community together, and to the extent that we can see each other at our moment of need, when we can meet each other where we are facing challenges, whether the challenges is making sure that the air we breathe, I'm looking at the ETO people, that the air we breathe is clean and healthy, or that the schools our kids go to are providing an education of a caliber necessary for them to succeed. Or, and we were talking earlier about President Trump's decision to turn his back on the Kurds and leave them at the mercy of an onslaught of an army. To see people where they are and know who are our friends and stand with our friends and stand together is, I think, what is our command. However we pray to God, however we find our faith, however we come together, that's what brings us together. And that's what I hope holds us together. And so let me shift to talk more about politics. Because politics are a reflection of who we are as a community. And politics are the ability of people to talk to each other, to raise issues of relevance and importance to them, to advocate for those issues and make a difference. And I'll use the ETO as an example. ETO, if you don't know, is ethylene oxide. It's a chemical. It's a long story, I won't go into it. But the first time I met the Stop ETO people was at a coffee shop on, I think it was Einstein's.
Right.
We had one table full. The other night we had an auditorium full, first floor, balcony, 100 people standing outside because they couldn't get in, a whole other group, I don't even know how many people were in Waukegan. 100, 200. All right, so I'm going to say roughly 500 people that started at a table around it, actually started before that. When I met you, it was a table at a coffee shop. That's politics. It's getting involved. And why am I talking about that? Because tonight with, and I don't know how to, is it NIAMA? How do you pronounce this? NIAMA. All right. When people come together and say we want to make our voices heard, it's how the founders of our nation envisioned our country. We're 243 years old. Our Constitution's 230 years old. In the scheme of things, it's relatively young. But at the moment, it's under a great challenge. And the test we're being put to The test that times have presented us with is a test of will we stand together as one nation, conceived by the founders with the motto E pluribus unum, from many one, that we're, regardless, and I'll talk, Ronald Reagan said it better than I can, what makes America so spectacular is that it doesn't matter where you're born, from any of the corners of the world. It doesn't matter who your parents are. It doesn't matter what your first language is. It doesn't matter what age you make a decision to come to this country and declare it your own. This is the only country where you can come and choose to be a citizen, accept the oath of citizenship, and be part of everything it means to be an American. On Thursday at the Botanic Gardens, I had the privilege of joining with Jan Schakowsky, Sean Caston, and Lauren Underwood. And I'm guessing there's someone in this room from each of those 4 districts, 6, 9, 14, and I'm 10. We had 126 people from 40 different countries take the oath of citizenship. It is one of the most beautiful experiences you can ever experience. And the privilege I get, and my colleagues got, for Lauren and Sean for the first time, is we're on the stage looking into the faces of people who are raising the hand and taking the oath. And seeing in the faces that are in the mosaic that define this country, the pride, the joy, and the hope that being an American citizen offers. But with that pride, joy, and hope comes also responsibility. So the last thing I'll say is that responsibility starts with voting. If you haven't registered, register. If you haven't signed if you are registered and you haven't signed a petition, sign a petition. And you guys know when the next election is? Well, that's not fair. You're a committee woman. It's March 17th is our primary, right? And early voting starts in February, just around the corner. But if all of us get registered, vote, make our voices heard, we'll have the government we deserve. And if we don't, we'll get the government we deserve. So be involved, be engaged, make your voices heard, but it's more than just voting. It's talking about politics, it's coming together like you're doing today. And then the last thing I say, I promise I'll sit down, is we have a census starting in 3 months, 2020. I saw a sign over here about get counted somewhere, right? It is so critical that everyone in our community completes the census. You can do it online, you can do it in person, you can do it by telephone, but we have to make sure everyone gets counted. Because the best way to think about it is if I went through this room and counted only this half of the room and said, there's this many people, that's how much food we need, we're not gonna have enough food. Well, if we don't count everyone in our community, the census determines how allocations of not just congressional districts are set out across the 50 states, but almost $700 billion allocated to those states. Money for schools and roads and hospitals, the things that make a difference. So make sure not just that you get counted and your family gets counted, but your neighbors and your co-workers. We have to make sure everyone in Illinois gets counted. So Vasim, again, thank you for giving me the chance to be here. Thank you for what you do day in and day out, but it only counts when you go into the ballot box, when you cast your vote, and you get your neighbors to cast their vote. Let's make sure that this election, everyone's voices gets heard. Thanks so much.
We appreciate all your hard work, and we hope to see you again in the not too distant future. And I would like to, in addition to the Honorable Congressman, we have received some video messages from Senator Durbin, who could not be here, and my wonderful colleague and board member are handling that. So this was made specially for us and sent to us by video by our good senator. Thank you.
I'm sorry I can't be with you today, but I'm thinking about you. And I'm thinking about what you've been through in the last 3 years with President Donald Trump. He's given scores of speeches and scores of tweets criticizing immigrants and particularly singling out people of the Muslim faith. We know his travel ban, we know what he said, and we know the kind of fear and hate which he's spread across this country. I'm sorry that you've had to go through this. I'm even sorrier that your family and your children have had to go through it as well. But know this, there are many of us who stand by your side. And know as well that in this nation of the United States of America, under our Constitution, you have the last word. And that last word is in the election of November 2020. Today you're talking about organizing, building on the gains of 2018. I want you to know we're going to be by your side. We can do this together. We can bring the right change to America. I'm happy to stand with you, and I ask you only one favor. In future years, perhaps after I'm gone, when another group is being victimized, step up and speak up for them as well. That's what makes America the country that it is today. Thank you.
Last year, Congressman Sean Casten was with us when we first inaugurated NIAMA, and he told me that he had a class reunion and he could not miss that, but he did send a personal tape. Yesterday we received it, so thank you for playing it.
Hi everybody, this is Congressman Sean Casten from Illinois 6. I'm sorry I can't join you this year, but I thank you so much for everything that you all do. We're in this moment where there's this, as I don't need to tell you, there's this rise of hatred and a lot of horrible things coming out of the White House. And the people of this state are so much better than that. You are so much better than that. But it only matters if you stand up. So what you all have done to become active, to make your voice heard, to let your representatives know what your issues are, to stand up and be counted in the upcoming census, that is how we keep bending this arc of history towards justice. So thank you for what you're doing. And while I can't be there today, please know that I am a strong supporter and always feel free to come and reach out if I can do anything to be of assistance.
Our congressman and our senator for taking time to send this personal message to NIAMA on this happy occasion of our getting together. You know, there's always that difficulty in the friends who come here and join us, and I would like to especially welcome those that I know, and then I will ask Nancy, our dear friend, to fill in the other people. I do need help now at all levels of my life. So Nancy, please join me here. I will, in no particular order, I would like to welcome our mayor from Waukegan, dear friend of the community, Mayor Cunningham. Would you like to please come join us on the table? Yes. Always there when we need him. An excellent leader and taking Waukegan, mosque is in Waukegan. Again, a dear friend who is very near and dear to our hearts, who represents us in Springfield. On from many of your areas, people live in her area, in her district. Let me welcome Mary Lee Allen. Mary was a test case for us, because you may recall that some of the people who were opposing Mary did not really have a very good feeling or had attitude towards the Muslims in particular. There was a lot of Islamophobia statements, and the community did get together. Mary is a school teacher. She has values, and some of the children here and some of the adults volunteered for her. Mary won on the election day. I was with her in the camp, and she was losing by 1, and we came with 1 or 2, and we came with sad faces, and we were watching the outcome as we progressed on. And lo and behold, we had Mary ahead, and she is now representing us in Springfield. Thank you for your hard work, Mary. We have other people who are very open friends of ours. Joyce Mason represents an area that many of us live in. Joyce was the first to come today. When the door was there, Joyce, could you please come join us? Joyce represents many of you And the beauty of these people are they're very accessible to all of us in case we have any issues and concerns. I think Illinois Senator Dan Lidich was supposed to be here. He may come a little late, but we welcome him. He has been with us, a good friend of ours. And Dan, if you are here, please come forward. Otherwise, we hope to see you because you had mentioned I had told him it will start a little late, so he will show up a little late. Now, we have several Lake County people here, and I would like to have Nancy present this thing, present the names so people who can recognize Nancy. I know of several people here, but I'm sure I'll miss a few others.
Well, there's Julie Simpson in the back who represents Lake County. Come on forward, Julie. Come and join us. She didn't win by very many votes either, and we helped out with that as well. She won by, some, but not as, and Jennifer Clark is here too, right? Jennifer Clark. This was Jennifer Clark represents many of you on the county board, and Jennifer took out a 35-year incumbent and won by 18 votes. You think you had an impact on that? Hang on just a second. All right. Were there any other elected officials in the audience that we missed? Okay. We're going to do timing here too, so 2 minutes each. Do you have some comments?
Unfortunately, because of time strains, we have to be a little discourteous and have time frame, but I'm sure they are used to condensing the thoughts in very few sentences. Thank you very much.
Okay, let me get out first. All right, hi, I'm Jennifer Clark. So I've met many of you, a Lake County board member from Libertyville, Mundelein. And last week was our county board meeting on Tuesday. And I'll tell you, it was a surprising battle. We were voting on an ethics ordinance of all things. Lake County did not hardly had any ethics ordinance at all. So the Democrats, we had an ethics committee. We got together, worked 9 months on developing this ordinance, and it went to a vote. And I was shocked. We had many Republican members literally say, I have a right to bully people. I have a right as an elected official to harass people. You can watch the video. It was a battle. They wanted to send it back to the committee. And I'll tell you, we spoke up and we said no. We see this on a federal level right now. We see a president who says, I'm above the law, and we tried that. They tried that in Lake County, and we stuck together. We fought. It was an hour and a half of discussion, and we passed that ethics law. And I'm very proud. It was a good day. And it shows you how important it is. Local elections count. Elections matter. And it said I won by 18 votes. That's only 9 people. But I can tell you, I know there's a lot of hard news going on, but I can tell you right here in Lake County, we won one small battle in this big war. So thank you all.
We have a lot of teachers here today. Hi everyone, my name is Joyce Mason, and I am really truly honored to be the state representative district, and that includes Gurnee, Wadsworth, Lindenhurst, Lake Villa, Antioch, Winthrop Harbor, Beach Park, Zion, and Old Mill Creek, which has more horses than people. I am a mom. I never really expected to run for office. And then the 2016 presidential election happened, and I saw a whole lot of hate and a whole lot of division. And for the first time, I paid attention to what our state representative in my home was doing, and that was supporting a lot of the hate and a lot of the division and only people who looked like her. So I went way out of my comfort zone, and I stepped up and fought really, really hard. And every day I'm so honored to go to Springfield and represent everyone in the district. We've done some exciting things. We've passed the strongest ETO legislation in the country, and we're working on even stronger ETO legislation. We've funded Illinois schools. They're fully funding for this year for the first time in years. We had a balanced budget. We've tried to be that buffer from all the ugliness on the national level and tried to keep Illinois a place that is welcoming and that appreciates everyone and that does the right things. So thank you so much. It really is an honor when the days get long and hard. I just told someone at the end of the day, I sit there and I think, if I weren't here, who would be taking these votes? And then it all feels better. So I welcome you to call me, talk to me, come visit me in Springfield. It is really, truly an honor. And if you live in the district, I do have a petition up there. I'd love your signature as well. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mariette Lee Allen, and I proudly represent the 51st District, which is Libertyville, Lake Zurich, Barrington, Deer Park, and 14 other localities, all the way down to Lake Hope Road. Thank you for coming tonight. This is absolutely amazing, and this is democracy at its best. Out of all of the things that you could have done tonight, you came tonight and showed up to be here, to be present in democracy. And I know most of you have heard the story about how I got started into the election, but it bears repeating, especially during these times. I have some bad news and I have some good news, so I'll tell you the bad news first. Most of you know I was a bilingual teacher, and the day after the election was extremely difficult for me, but it was even harder for my immigrant students. And it's really hard to retell the story without getting emotional. But sitting around the table in my classroom with my 3rd grade Pakistan student who was crying, and I said, "Why are you crying?" I knew why he was crying, but "Why are you crying?" And he said, "I'm scared." It breaks my heart. This is not the country I know. This is not what is the best of us. And I decided at that moment I needed to do something. I didn't know what, and my journey was very long to get to the point to actually run, but that was the start. It was, I want to be. So that story I carry with me when I would knock on doors. I would think of my student and think of all of my friends who feel threatened now. That's the bad news. I have some good news. We can change it. We can change the direction. We can change all of this. And I don't know about you, but I believe in our better angels. And I know they're all out there. And I believe there are more of our better angels. And they all need to get involved. They need to step up. And I have 30 seconds left. Thank you. Involved in any way. Where was the young lady that I was speaking to earlier that said, "I know, I was there, that I was in your office, I was addressing envelopes." There you are, back there. I was addressing envelopes. I put stamps on the envelopes. There were many of you that came into my office to help. There are jobs, small and big. Every candidate at every level can use your help. If it's an hour a month, if it's not time, we can use money. I mean, it's a hard conversation to have, but we need to buy yard signs and we need to get those stamps. So any little bit that you can help each one of you needs to get involved. Raise your hand if you'll get involved. Okay, thank you.
We have one more candidate who just, elected official who just joined us. It's Erin Cartwright Weinstein. She's our circuit clerk. So she's going up to the table. She's going to join us.
Well, the great thing, I had good news. I'm not running right now. That's the good news probably for me, but more importantly, tonight. And tonight, I'm going to say, out of all the things we could be doing on a Saturday night, at a movie with our family, with our friends, you are here. You know why you're here? Because you care. You care about who represents you on the state, county, local, and national levels. So being here, let us know that you are important for every decision that we make. Why are those decisions important to us? Because it affects your family, your friends, your schools, the streets that you drive down. When it's important to you, it's important to us. So that's why we're here. And collectively, and I say collectively right here, we're doing the best that we can do with the information that we have to make sure that your family, your friends, your neighbors have the best city, state, county in the land. And as a representative of the city of Waukegan, the melting pot of America, I am proud to stand with my colleagues on all levels to work for you to better our community. I say this to all those who are in this business. We do not do this for the money, believe me. We do this because we care. You know why we care? But you know why we care? As a customer, you care. And when you care, you let us know about those small votes, whether it be ETO, whether it be infrastructure, whether it be health care, whether it be the freedom of speech. You care. And when you care, you want to elect the right person at the right time to deliver the right message at the right vote to make sure that your homes from a national level, state level is taken care of. Thank you to all of these candidates here, but more important, thank you. Take care. God bless.
Good evening. I'm at the 18th District on the Lake County Board, which is right here in Vernon Hills. It also encompasses some of Long Grove and some of Hawthorne Woods. So for those of you who don't live here in my village, we are happy to have you here. Lake County is such a diverse place, and we need all religions getting involved. And this group, I've been to a lot of your events, shows how truly dedicated you are to getting involved in the community, and you have made drastic implications on elections, such as the elections of Mary Lee Allen and Jennifer Clark. And I'm just going to reiterate a little bit of what Mary said. Something I think that she might have missed is even petitions for the people who are up for election right now. Grab a petition, get 10, 20 signatures for one of our candidates. They add up so fast, they'll get them on the ballot. They're the people who represent the interests of all of our community, not just the select few who want to keep the status quo. Thank you, Mary. And so once again, welcome to my community. Thank you very much for having me, and I'm happy to represent everyone.
Hi, my name is Emily Young, and I am a trustee from the Village of Barrington. I know that we are conscious of time, so I'm going to try to not make you but I want to thank you all for having me today, and thank you all for coming out. You know, as so many of my colleagues and fellow representatives have said, it's so great to see a community that's so engaged, and this is really just the first step as we look ahead to 2020. You know, going forward, we need to all make sure that we're registered to vote and advocating for issues that are important, but also considering if you all are candidates yourselves. You know, local elections matter because the people who run engage the community and are accurate representations of the people that they serve. So we can only do that. We can only do that if you volunteer to run or talk to a friend about running. So definitely vote in 2020, but think about when is an opportunity that you could run and be that voice yourself. So thank you again. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Good evening. My name is Erin Cartwright Weinstein. I won the election in 2016 and beat out an incumbent. And I just, to let you know, so no one knows what the circuit court clerk does. So we are the recorder of deeds for the court system. So we are very involved every day in what happens in the court system and we maintain all of the records as they go up through the appellate court, the Supreme Court as cases move. So I think it's really, you all are here because this is all local government. I mean, everyone who's sitting here is all about you. And we really monitor what we do within our offices in order to manage taxpayer dollars. And so for you to know that when I came into the office and my predecessor had blown $5 million on a system that wasn't working, and we were able to go out there and find a system that did more for $2.75 million, it really means a lot to each taxpayer and what's occurring within your county. It opens up more money for services for people. But I just, again, want to say thank you for having all of us, and I appreciate every single one of my colleagues. I'm very proud of every single one of them. I think we all work together really well, and thank you all for being here. And if you ever have any questions about the court system and navigating it, that's my job, so please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
If you live in my district, please come find me today so you can sign my petitions. If you live in Vernon Hills, Buffalo Grove, Mundelein, Wheeling, Lincolnshire, Riverwoods, please help me put my name back on the ballot. We accomplished so much over the past year. I'm sure Mary and Joyce probably touched on it a little bit. A balanced budget, fair tax on the ballot, 15 Reproductive Health Act, a whole host of amazing legislative accomplishments that would not have happened if you guys did not help us elect a supermajority of Democrats down in Springfield this year, especially Mary Lee Allen, who had a close race. She's going to have another close race again, so please help get out the vote if you live in Mary's district. We still have a lot to do. We accomplished a lot, we still have more to do. A few issues that we still definitely have progress we need to make. One is the environment. I'm hopeful that when we go down in veto session at the end of this month, we're going to take action on the ETO crisis that's happening in Lake County right now. Sterigenics in Willowbrook is shut down, which is great for Willowbrook, but Lake County matters too. We shut down these kids facilities here in Lake County. Passed the Clean Energy Jobs Act. We need to invest in our electric vehicles for people to put solar panels on their homes. So environment, big issue. Gun violence prevention, very big issue. We need to pass the Fix the Void Act and close the loopholes in the background check laws. So we can't have convicted felons getting guns, coming into our schools, coming into our houses of worship. We have to close those loopholes so we can't have any more dangerous weapons in the hands of dangerous people. Third thing we need to do next year is defeat Donald Trump. And there's only one way we can defeat Donald Trump, and that's by voting. We need to vote next year. And everybody in this room, I know you're all going to vote. You took the time to come here. We know you're going to vote. We need to make sure your neighbors vote, your friends vote, your family votes. Everybody you know needs to vote next year because that's the only way we're going to be able to get Donald Trump out of the White House. Thank you very much.
So we had to modify our schedule somewhat because Congressman Schneider had to leave early. At this time, I would like the candidates from our community who ran for local elections this year earlier, I would like to stand up and be recognized. Saliha Khan ran for school board. If she's here, please stand up. Farah Laman ran for trustee of Cawthorn Ward. Lubna Kiluil, I hope she ran for school board. Nasima Patel, not here. Salma Sayed ran for school board. Sayed is here. Then I would like to ask Saliha Khan, Rabia Khan to say a few words. She was elected to the school board position.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rabia Khan. I ran for District 68, which is Oak Grove School Board, and I was elected last, was it April? Yes. Uncle Wasim asked me to speak a little bit about my experience. So what I wanted to say was, when I decided to run for school board, you know, I come from a one school, one district school, so it's very small. We have 900 student families, and I didn't really think it was going to be, you know, this big election thing. You know, I knew I needed a couple signs, I knew I had to talk to a few people, and I was like, I'm good to go. And then I talked to my friend Lubna Kilween, and she asked me, so how many people do you have in your district? How many postcards do you need to get? And I was like, what? These are things I need to know. And she was like, you need to get in touch with this organization, NIAMA. They will give you all this information. There's this amazing lady, Nancy Shepardson, she will help you. And I was like, okay. And because of NIAMA and Nancy, I was able to get all this information, and I had a network of people that I could ask, hey, I have questions about what information I need to put on my postcard. I had somebody to proofread my postcard. I had people to ask questions, you know, are you going through this? And even just people to be like, man, canvassing stinks. Knocking door to door is not fun. And you had people who could relate and understand what you were going through, and just people to throw ideas around. And so it really, really helped in the whole process of being elected. And while I was running, I actually watched the documentary Knock Down the House, which follows AOC and a few other candidates on their journey to get elected. And one of the things that she says is that it takes 100 of us to go out there for one of us to win. And there were 7 of us running, and 2 of us got elected. So that's amazing. That's amazing that we were able to do that. The other thing I want to say to everyone is that find your passion, find your issue that you find important, and don't be afraid to go to these meetings and go to a board meeting, go to the Lake County meetings, and say, hey, what about this? What about, you know, if you're at the schools, go to the PTO meetings, make your voice heard. At Oak Grove School, we have a population, the South Asian and Middle Eastern community makes up 30% of the population. I am the first person of color to sit on that board. So don't be afraid to get out of your insular communities. We have our masjid. It will run. It is fine. Get out into the community and make your voice heard. Thank you.
And last but not the least, Wasim Iftikhar Bhai also ran for Lake County College trustee position and got 11,000 votes. So I would like Wasim Bhai to come in and give his talk about the purpose and plan for NIAMA. Wasim. While Wasim Bhai is making his way here, I would like to especially thank Nancy Shepardson. So ever since I moved here about 4 years ago, and I met Nancy back then in the election 2016, she has been helping us out. You can call her day in and day night, and she has stayed with us in our meetings till midnight. And we owe a lot to her in bringing awareness and teaching us. So a big round of applause for Nancy.
Hi, thanks for that lovely praise. I do this and have done this for many, many years. It's important that as everyone has said, it's important that our voices are heard, that your voices are heard. So I don't mind helping out because I like to do it. But before Vasim comes on to talk about NIAMA, I wanted to make sure that we recognize some of the people who are running for election in 2020 who are not up here because they're not elected yet. But I just want them to stand up and be recognized, and many of them have petitions on the back table that you can go and sign. So first of all, stop that. I was just about to get to you. Eric Reinhardt is running for state's attorney in Lake County. Anybody who lives in Lake County can sign Eric's petition, and it's on the back table. And then we have, oh boy, I'm going to forget. Rhonda Bravo. Well, she's running as Rhonda Bravo is running for judge in the 3rd subcircuit of the 3rd district of the 19th subcircuit, which is basically Mundelein, Hawthorne Woods, some of Killdeer, some of Vernon Hills. Rhonda, are you still here? There she is. Please sign her petition. And now I'm going to run out of memory. Are there other candidates in the room that we should introduce?
I will be running for the Congress of District 8. Most of you know Muhammad Inam Hussain, and probably Nancy, you remember me or not. I was the first president which invited you to the masjid. And so right now, I just have come to the terms that we will be running as a Congress candidate from District 8. And officially, I will be announcing on Thursday. So unfortunately, I'm not from Lake County, but I need everyone's support as usual, as we have run this masjid and mosque for several years. We established, and that Vasim Bhai have encouraged us to participate in extensive family, which is our community. And Nancy always was encouraging us at that time. But now is the time that we will participate in real terms of our representation, because our community, as you said, 30%. We have 400,000 Muslim voters in Chicagoland area. And that district has quite a bit, and inshallah will make the difference. And my opponent is Raja Krishnamurthy. So I'm announcing my candidacy in my own backyard. This is my backyard. And I will get all your support in coming days. Officially, that will be on Thursday.
Point of privilege, I'd like to recognize Akram Hussain, who got me to the mosque for the very first time 15 years ago. Are you still here, Akram? There he is. Thank you so much.
He's also a former precinct committee person.
Yes, he is, former, and he should be again. And also, just one other thing, two other things. My counterpart in the 6th Congressional District, I'm the 6th District State Central Committee woman. Patrick Watson is here, committee man. And Lauren Beth Gash is the 10th District Committee woman.
So, Vasim Bhai, the function and progress that NIAMA has made over the last 2 years since its inception.
By now, you probably are tired of hearing speeches and so on, so I'll try to make sure that I can cut down my time in order to keep ourselves on track. Before I go on the slides, we have a lot of recognition, and rightfully so, for people who are working very hard. The people that have not been mentioned so far, and my name has come up many times, I don't deserve it. The people who have worked with me and who do all the work is my board members. Without them, I cannot do anything. And they have been like a rock. They are professional people. I'm a retiree, I'm a retired person, and I don't know how they do it, but day and day, night, anytime I talk to them, they have the velocity and the enthusiasm, which is so contagious for everyone. So without any, or necessarily in any order, I would just like to recognize my partners, my colleagues, and my dear friends who are the backbone of NIAMA. If I'm not tomorrow, these people will be carrying NIAMA for many times. So I would like to mention Dr. Noman Haider, who everybody knows. He has been here only for a short time, but everybody in Chicago knows him now, because God knows where he gets his energy. I like to see his battery that he runs on. But he is an extremely enthusiastic physician by profession, but really a very kind-hearted gentleman. We have Dr. Nadeem Amin, who, as you know, many of you know Dr. Aminur Rahman Nadeem. He works at the VA. Again, our thoughts are with him. His mother passed away last few weeks ago, and yet he came back and really got going on NIAMA. So thank you, Dr. Amin, for all your help throughout the year and onwards. I should have mentioned my lady colleagues in the board. Mrs. Haider, Nadia Haider. What an experience for me to know these people, human beings. Nadia does almost all the work without asking for anything in return in terms of recognition. Thank you, Nadia, for all your hard work, and may God bless you and your children. We have Farah Ahmed. Farah is, by her own way, she does a lot of work for us. We are like a small family, in NIAMA family. There we have a very critical role by, first I want to mention Farah Laman. Farah ran for elections. I be out, Wasim, what can I do? Thank you, Farah, from the bottom of my heart. And last but certainly not the least, my colleague who takes care of all the financial aspects. Ans Ahmed is here somewhere, probably doing so. Ans, he is very, very helpful in terms of organization, financial things, because as you know. So I'm sure in addition to this, gentlemen and ladies, there are many other people who have. The other person that my thoughts are with her is one of the most hardworking person, Salma Mahmood. Salma is overseas because her mother is not well. Mahmood is here representing her children, wonderful, beautiful children. Where are you guys? Probably volunteer. Can you stand up? Salman, and your sister is not here. Huh? Your sister is here? Naman, she's outside. These girls have really helped us tremendously in all aspects of our business. Wonderful, beautiful children, and may God bless you, and there are other people who are helping. So I have done enough recognition. Now, there she is, the younger one, Salman. And then they assemble together. So these are the backbone of our future. These are our future leaders in our community. And I want to really, so with all that, I'll try to cut down my presentation because a lot of things have already been said. So without further ado, let me just request my colleague to put the slides on the screen. I think people can see that. I try to keep my speech to 10 minutes at the most. So moving on to the next slide. Okay, just a very quick historical perspective of where we are, and I don't want you to have to read all the slides, but the point I was making in the slide is that we have gone through a metamorphosis, we have gone through a progression, chronological progression of where we were. When we all came, I came here 45 years ago, and when we came here, we used to assemble like the story of all cities, 8 or 10 people getting together in a college campus or in some place and getting to talk about this thing. And we moved on, we saw ICNA come in, we got Islamophobia feared when Iran situation started, we assembled and tried to do at a national level. But the point I'm making is that while we have progressed, we have not reached a stage where we have really addressed the basic platform on which political system is based, and that is local politics. And this idea came to me having observed that we do not know what is around us. We know what is further away from us. We do not know what is happening in the backyard. So the idea came in consultation with some of the like-minded people. I came to the conclusion that, you know, as the saying so goes, all politics is local. All politics is grassroots. And this point I cannot overemphasize, because obviously there is a temptation to talk about higher level politics, but it's our backward. Why so? Because, you know, the function of the local government, the 4 major roles. We have a regulatory role. I don't want to read the whole thing. We have a service role with public libraries on service. Regulatory, you've got police, fire. All these are essential ingredients that we need in our lives. And local government role is obviously the political jurisdictions, the corporate role of assigning contracts which affect, but the bottom line is some money, substantial, underlining, I repeat it, substantial of our money is spent locally. And we tend to forget that. We can influence how local government is run. And then finally, obviously there's something that has been already emphasized. Bottom line, talk about garbage collection, talk about disposable of toxins, talk about school, talk about bus system, talk about repairs. All of these are local issues and they affect us day in and day out. So please do not underestimate the importance of municipal election, which is the fulcrum on which we built our NIAMA system. So what we were saying was that all these positions are local positions. Mayor, village trustees, park district, library board, community, water district, and many of these are bipartisan. So basically we do not have to belong to a party. So move on to the next slide, please. NIAMA was formed with a dream that we will go grassroots, that we will cover our bases, as they say, and then we move on to try to get a home run later on in national politics. NIAMA is not a 501c3. Please note that all your money that goes to NIAMA is not tax deductible. The 4 goals of NIAMA are in our website. Unite the Muslim communities. This is unite the Muslim community. But this is more than this. It is uniting the community who are not here. Your neighbors, your friends. So we need to unite everybody, one own part, not to particularly vote for one person, but to participate. And then we have assimilation in the political process. Look at these people who came to us. And we can go to them because they feel like they are the servants, not servants so much as they're so service. So this is assimilation. Assimilation and accommodation are 2 different things. We cannot be just accommodated. We have to be assimilated. We have to be fabric of America. A blessed country, a blessed group of people like us who belong to this country. Encourage and support your future political leadership. The children that I'm talking about, they are our future leadership. Be we do need to get them involved so that in future we can do that. So let's move on to the next portion. I won't go to the summary of running for office. Basically, you have to have minimum qualification. The point I'm making is you don't have to be a space scientist to run for office. You can run for office if you feel that you are meeting this minimum qualification. So let us move to the final slide, I believe. The summary of achievement through your support. No single person can claim responsibility for success or failure of NIAMA. You are the success of NIAMA. Inshallah, there won't be any failure of NIAMA because the concept has now been sown. We need to grow. It's just that we need to water this plant and make sure that it bears fruit, not only for us here, but for the future generations to come. So we had 15,000 votes collected. And I hope that someday I will have the privilege to present to you the lessons learned during our elections. And then we now have all these things. Overall, an excellent start. Last slide, please. Summary. Lots of work still ahead of us. Lots of it. Let me just think about something which is not on the slide. Many of us belong to faith groups, Christian, Jews, all the different Muslims. The things that we talk about today, example, climate change, example, equal wages, example, women's rights, example, cruelty to animals, aren't these things the same that our Prophet, peace be upon him, said 1400 years ago? 1400 years ago, when society was not as grown, our beloved Prophet, may peace be upon him and may Allah's mercy be upon him, said the same thing, that people are talking about human rights. So for me, it's number one, a civilian responsibility, number two, a religious responsibility, and a responsibility for the future of our children. Thank you very much.
So Census 2020 is ahead, and we've asked Dr. Dilara Sayed from Illinois Muslim Civic Coalition to come and talk about that. Dilara has been a dynamic leader of the Muslim community here. She's the co-founder of Illinois Muslim Civic Coalition. She's an educator and as a Harvard graduate, and she has been involved in galvanizing the Muslim community and bringing all influencers and people who are working in any position and form together and facilitating their work. So it's a great opportunity for us to have her speak about this very important issue. Dilara Sayed.
Let's try it again. Assalamu alaikum. May God's peace be with all of you. Vasim Bhai wanted me to 2020 and the keys to our future. I think we just heard one of the critical keys to our future with NIAMA. Would you agree with me? MashaAllah. To get to our future, though, we also want to share our story of the present. And we want to talk about who's in this room today, because we often say we're new or we now will take our seat at the American table. But I want to ask you, how many of you have been here for more than 10 years in America? Raise your hands way up high, because we are Americans. Look around the room. Almost everyone here in America, keep your hands raised if it's more than 20 years. Look around this room. More than 30 years. More than 50 years. More than 60 years. Our family came first in the 1950s, so we've been here just over 60 years. 300 years before that, Muslims were in America. Over 3 million Africans who identified as Muslims were brought to this country in chains. So when we talk about who built the White House and who built the economy of the South, Muslims were part of that story. And then, as the immigrants from the Middle East countries and South Asia came, We became part of the fabric of that story. Today in America, we're teachers. I'm an 8th grade teacher. 2nd generation union member. How many of you are union members or have been union members? Yeah, give ourselves a hand. We're teachers, we're doctors, we're lawyers, we're engineers, we're IT workers, we're union members, we're Uber drivers, and we're taxi cab drivers, and we're factory workers. I remember asking my father on a cold January morning, Daddy, why Chicago? Like, why not Dallas? So Dallas is beautiful. And he said, Bitte, I could land on an airplane and the next day get a factory job in Chicago. I'm a union member. I still pay my union dues because unions help build our life. And so these are the stories of Muslims in America. These are not foreign stories. If I didn't tell you it was Muslims, you would have thought it was Germans, or our Jewish brothers or sisters, or our Irish. We're all part of this fabric. And so 2020 will be the next definition of our story. The census is every 10 years. It's in the Constitution. The federal government has to count every man, woman, and child in the United States every 10 years. Why? Because almost $700 billion is given by the federal government to all the states based on the roads that have to be built, the schools that have to be built, the languages that everything has to be translated in, the special needs programs that all of this is because of the census data. It happens every 10 years. Historically, Muslim Americans, even though the census doesn't count your faith, we know those who are South Asian, those who are Middle Eastern, those who are African American, different communities are undercounted. Every single one of those communities also overlaps with Muslim Americans. We are considered hard to count, HTC. Every decade when the census has been counting us, most of us have been unidentified in that census. In fact, we have an under 70% rate of being counted. That means in this room, if there's 100 people, 70 are counted. That means they give us the resources based on 70 people. We should get resources based on how many of us? How many of us? 100% of us, right? So 2020 has 3 key things. Number 1, in April, the census. Every single one of us should be counted. Now, data tells us that if you pledge to be counted, you will be counted. So I'm going to give you some homework in just a minute. Number 2, the state legislation. We talked about politics being local. Our state policies and legislation will happen in 2020. We have to be careful about understanding what we want out of our legislation. What do you care about? What's the issue? Is it better schools? Is it safer streets? Is it having more resources for programs for our elders? All of these are legislation policies that we can help. And so we have to get involved in that. And number 3, I think we already know this. This will be one of the most important elections of our lifetime. In March is the primary. You must vote in the primary. In counties like Lake County, primary elections are critical. So you've got the right Democrats and the right Republicans on the ticket. And then in November, and I think it's almost kind of universal, we don't want the same president again. We don't want the same president again. And so we must make sure our vote counts in November. And again, as one of the elected officials said earlier, you're in here because you already care. You already understand the importance of civics and politics. But the minute you walk out of here tonight, for the next year and 1 month, you must be the ambassador for everybody else. You and I must make sure everybody we know counts in the census and votes in our elections. Inshallah. On your tables are 2 handouts. Number 1, you'll see a handout like this, and I talked to you about our story. Muslims, there are families in Illinois that are net worth $500 million that are Muslim Americans. And 40% of Muslims in Illinois are under the poverty line. We have such a diversity in wealth. We have families that are Muslim in Illinois, that are African American, that are South Asian, that are Arab, that are Latino, that are African immigrant, that are white. We are the single most diverse faith on the planet. There are families in Illinois that have been here for hundreds of years and families who just came last year. We welcome them all. This is the American Muslim story. Secondly, I'd like you to take a look at the pledge sheet. When you pledge to count, the data shows us that you will count. So will you take the pledge sheet that's on your table, 1 per household, and would you please pledge to count in the census? What we will do in March is we will send back to you, the NIAMA team and the Illinois Muslim Civic Coalition team, we will send back to you this pledge, your pledge to yourself, promising to count in the census. The census is a 9-question survey. How many of you are taking those surveys online? Which Bollywood character do you like the best? Which is the best movie of all time? Kal ho na ho ya dil wale dulhania na le jayenge? Or so we've taken them all the time. This is the census survey. It's the most important survey we'll take. It's 9 questions, takes about 5 minutes, and 1 person fills it out for your household. Everyone is counted, young, old, babies 1 day old, to parents and elders who are in their last breath. Rich, poor, black, white, brown, tan, documented or undocumented. The United States government cannot use any of that identifying information against you. It can use all the data that we learn about people to see where people live so we can make sure, like I said, languages are translated, etc. So will you please take a minute, fill out the census pledge, and who are our volunteers who are picking it up? Would you please call them in? Just perforate this when you're done. Put this part on your fridge so you remember to tell everyone who comes into your home about the census and about NIAMA's great work. And then please raise your hands with this part and we will come by to pick it up. Lastly, what you should have on your table is the NIAMA fundraising ticket. Wasim Bhai asked me to tell our American Muslim story. He asked me to talk about the census. In his humbleness, he didn't ask me to talk about this. But if we care so much about our future, the work that NIAMA is doing is our future. Please take a minute and fill this out. The best kind of contribution you can give is a recurring contribution. If you can give $1,000 a month, please do. If you can give $500 a month, please do. If you can give $100 a month. These are the organizations that will take us into the next phase of the American Muslim story. Thank you.
Thank you.
While the presentation is up, I'll just introduce myself. My name is Tea Tanaka. I'm one of the members of Stop ETO in Lake County. We have my husband, So Tanaka, here, and Yolanta Pomioglo, who are also in Lake County, and I'm very, very honored to be in the group with them. sorry about that, technical difficulties. Dan Tanaka, I'm with Stop ATO in Lake County, and some of you I already know, for the ones that don't know who I am, this will be very short. It's not a very pleasant topic that I will be talking about, but it's an important topic that we need everyone to be aware of. So, we are neighbors, and we are parents, foremost. I'm a senior scientist. People that are in our group are doctors, business executives, IT executives, education specialists, teachers, realtors. My husband is a realtor, and we have recently become a 501c4 organization. So what's the issue? Why are we here? Well, ethylene oxide is a toxic gas. It's been emitted in our communities by two facilities. One is Vantage, it's in Gurnee, and the other is Medline in Waukegan. These facilities are within 3 miles of each other, and most of us live within the area where this carcinogenic air is being emitted. In this picture, there are Venn diagrams with a 6-mile radius from where the facilities are located. And as you can see, both of them kind of interlap. And most of us live within this area. This gas is highly carcinogenic. It's a mutagen. It will mutate your DNA. And those mutations, if they are in the cells that you pass on to your children, those mutations will keep going from generation to generation as well. So it's a very powerful, very bad carcinogen. It's a class 1 carcinogen, similar to asbestos. There is no safe level of asbestos that is allowed good for human health. Same thing with ethylene oxide. There is no ethylene oxide that is allowed for human health. Extremely minute, tiny amounts of ethylene oxide can be very bad, can mutate DNA. In fact, only 1 molecule is enough to mutate DNA. So why are we here? What are we trying to do? We are trying to eliminate this carcinogenic gas, ethylene oxide, from our air. And in order to do that, to achieve our goal, we have to first spread awareness, because the more people know about it, something will happen, something will change. The second is get air monitoring for ETO concentrations in our air. And then the third is get legislation so that we can have regulations that are efficient and are good enough to have the Illinois EPA be able to do their job and clamp these emissions down. So before, we've tried to raise awareness, and IFN has been an amazing supporter. All of you have been amazing. You have showed up to most of our events before. And because of some of you who showed up in Waukegan, and the mayor of Waukegan probably has left right now, but I wanted to thank him too in front of you all. Because of that, we had our first win, and that first win was because you guys showed up in force in the city of Waukegan, and we demanded testing of our air. This was back in February. So that was our big win. We did get testing for our air in the month of June. The Lake County Health Department did that. And we got some answers. The answers that we got, we didn't really like, because the testing results showed that the air concentrations were really high. In fact, this is the readings, the 10 highest readings around Vantage. You see that red line at the bottom? That's where the EPA's actionable level for ETO is. And everything above it is what we got in our air, hundreds of times higher than what's the actionable levels. And then for the next one, we'll show Medline levels. Look how high those are. It's 500 times above the actionable level. So we didn't really like the answers, but this is what we needed. And we needed these answers to know if we really have a problem or if it's just a suspicion. Studies were done by US EPA in the Willowbrook area. I don't know if you've heard it in the news, but they did shut down Stereogenics permanently in Willowbrook. Stereogenics was emitting the exact same gas that these two facilities in the county are emitting. They were shut down on February 15th, temporarily. They went to courts for a while, and then 2 weeks ago, they finally got shut down permanently, and they're moving out of Willowbrook. However, the two facilities in the county are still running, and we have quite a lot of work to do. So our next win number 2, was Medline stack permit height permit. Medline was trying to increase their permit for the stack height, because with the taller stack, you can emit the gas further out into the communities. So that means that when they are monitoring around the facility, the numbers will be lower. So in effect, the same kind of pounds coming out of the stack, you're diluting it out further. It looks as if your emissions are lower even though they're not. So we packed that room and we lobbied all the aldermen in Waukegan. Again, Waukegan gave us win number 2, unanimous win. They voted 9-0 not to allow the stack height to go through. So to that's Lubna and I. We were canvassing in Waukegan, and yes, canvassing is a lot of work. It's very hard work to do. So thank you, Lubna. So your community has been helping us tremendously throughout this journey, and we cannot be more thankful. Then our third win was a town hall. We have been working hand in hand with all of our local elected officials. Senator Melinda Bush made this town hall possible. We had over 500 people come to that town hall. A part of that group wasn't even in the room because of fire code. They were actually routed to a different room. And then Waukegan residents were building as well. So what's next? Next is stronger regulation. We have a House bill that was introduced by Representative Rita Mayfield, and the representatives that were here earlier, they are actually co-sponsors of the bill as well. And what that bill does, 3888, it will phase out ethylene oxide emissions from sterilization facilities that are within 5-mile radius of a school, of a daycare, or of a highly residential area. And that phase out for sterilization facilities will happen by January 2021. By January 2022, it will phase out emissions coming out from hospitals and from manufacturing facilities. And by 2025, all ETO emissions should be phased out, even for critical hospitals. So by 2025, hopefully everything should be phased out. This is our wish list that we have put on this bill. There's a lot of work to be done for this bill to become law. I don't know if you've heard that little song, with a little bill to become law. But in order to do that, we have to have the community's help. So how do you help us? Well, the first thing that you can help us with is filling out witness slips as a proponent for these bills. Every time that the bill goes through an amendment, or if it goes from one chamber to the other, there is witness slips. And those witness slips are akin to you going to Springfield and telling your representatives, I want you to vote for this bill, or I want you to not vote for this bill. So those witness lists are the official way that public support is counted. So please make sure that in order for you to fill those witness slips, send us an email at stopetointhecounty@gmail.com. When those witness slips are available, every time they come, we will send you an email reminder to say, hey, can you please fill out this witness list? It takes literally 2 minutes. Once you do it the first time, all your information gets saved on your computer, so you can do it the second time much easier, within 30 seconds. However, you would need to know when that witness slip will be ready. So please, make sure you send us an email to that address. You can do that right now from your phone. And then you can join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That way you can stay connected with us. And please do email us if you have questions. We are very, very happy to email you back, to call you back, and to answer all your questions. And then donations too. We have put a lot of yard signs every time that I'm driving to work or to the grocery store and I see our yard signs in people's yards. It warms my heart, because that means that more people will be aware of ethylene oxide in our air. So thank you very much. Thank you for being so supportive to our movement. And thank you for increasing awareness with your neighbors and friends and family members about this carcinogenic air. None of our kids should be breathing it.
Thank you.
Thanks all for coming. Appreciate that you have the people who are present in this room, have been part of NIAMA. So I'm going to talk about where do we go from here. We already know goals of NIAMA, but where do we go from here between now and 2020? Specific actions, okay? Go ahead. So our first bucket is increasing voter turnout. That's the goal. And how we're going to do that based on our experience from the last midterm elections is we are going to at least have 10 voter registration drives between now and 2020. We believe that the voter registration drives motivate our community members or any community to come out and vote. And in the past, in our experience, the Muslim community even did not know about local or midterm elections. But this last midterm election, they came out and voted in record numbers. So, and we also plan to do 3 go-to-vote mailers to vote in collaboration with other organizations. We conduct at least 1 candidate forum, which will give a chance for candidates to come out and interact with community. And also, we have foundation and mosque and several centers where we will announce and make people aware of that. So we believe by doing these steps, we should be able to get the goal of getting Muslims from our community and Northern Illinois to get out and vote. Next slide. So candidate support. We heard from Mary Adley Allen, Daniel Didick, and other candidates. In the past elections, we identified them based on their records and our evaluation that they stand for justice for all. And NIAMA supported them not only with volunteers, but also with donations and doing phone banks and everything else. So moving forward from between now and 2020, we will identify candidates based on questionnaires, our evaluations, and their records. So once we identify candidates, we will let community know which candidates we plan to support, and we will do telephone banks for them. Based on our experience, if we do at least 6 telephone banks between now and 2020, that will help them out. We will contribute financially based on PAC regulations. Next slide, please. So this is youth support. This is one of our goals from very beginning. And we have involved youth in the political process since inception of NIAMA. In the future, we plan, it's a very ambitious plan, but we believe we can do that. We will provide training to at least 100 youth on political involvement. We'll also place at least dozen youth as a volunteer staff, like intern, with elected officials for shadowing and internship. We'll also recruit youth for community work, like more in the broad civic engagement term. We'll also support our youth trips. We believe that Brother Shah Ahmed, who is chairman of CIGOC, is here. CIGOC, every year they take a trip to Springfield, so we'll motivate or go along with CIGOC and other like-minded organizations to be part of these trips. Next slide. So, we need to have a strategic planning for 2020 elections. We plan to complete our strategic planning by December 2019. We will expand our efforts in Southern Lake County because in the last election we focused more on this part of the Lake County. We also will support census participation in collaboration with CIOGC. As a matter of fact, Brother Ishad, he has census cards over here, and we can distribute that. Also, we are working with Illinois Muslim Coalition, but it's not only working with one organization, we are working with many like-minded organizations, so just everybody to know that. Okay, to do all these things, the program like today, or doing anything, helping candidates with cards, brochures, yard signs, all these things require financial incur finances. So we definitely request you to open not only your hearts and minds, but also your pockets and donate, please, generously. Next slide. So I just want to end my presentation with this note. Brother Wasim mentioned that my mother passed away Saturday, exactly 4 weeks ago, on September 14th. May God bless his soul, but I would rather not be anywhere but here. And you guys, all of you have came in support of NIAMA. While you have made your way over here, we expect and we request that you will also support NIAMA with your donations. Thank you.
So, Chairman, Brother Irshad Khan, who came in, and CIOGC is taking an active interest in the whole process of the Census 2020, so he's going to shed some light on it. And then I also would like to recognize Brother Anas Laman, who has been working tirelessly day and night to help NIAMA. And if he sees everything, anybody, any organization that is working to mobilize the communities out there to help us out. So really big round of applause for Brother Anas Laman. Brother Shah, please come on.
Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. We know we're going a little bit late on the schedule, but this is how it works all the time. No matter how much we try, we always fall behind on this. I'm the treasurer. I report to the Board of Elections Commission every quarter, and whatever the money we received and whatever we expense. So this is the reason I always tell, because there is a transparency with Board of Election Commission. If you want to go on Google and go to the Board of Election site, you can always see what transaction took place, not just NIAMA, but out of curiosity, you can Google any other PAC. So we're very transparent and we report every quarter. So we're doing a fundraising, but we need to do together. This is not fundraising for, it's a common cause. We have here the president of CIOGC, Chicago. We have a coalition here, Dilara Sayed, she spoke very well. We have our NIAMA, and then we have some doctors association. So this cause is a very common cause. And then we need to move forward in a political arena. So I would request Irshad to take over and request you to donate. Oh, okay, hold on. Okay, this is the words that I'm going to just repeat. This PAC is a fully registered organization. We have an EIN number like any other business. And PAC ID issued by the government agencies, which is Board of Election Commission. Under the local PAC, the ruling of collecting contribution, extending help to the candidates, and the expenses incurred to run the organization should be discharged as per the regulation of Board of Election Commission, and it is definitely overseen by IRS regulations. Yeah. So the reason why we are doing this fundraising and need your help in contribution is because we have to run the office related expenses. You know, when we run the office, it's always like a lot of stationery, computers and everything. The most important thing is the communication like website, mailing, takes a lot of time and also takes a lot of money. We have spent easily $600 in printing and all that, and it goes beyond that. Training needs for youth. We have a special program. Me and Noman always go after our youth because these are the people who's going to take it over. So we're continuously training our youth and volunteers. So going forward, we're planning to have at least a part-time staffing member. So we have a very good program, but we need your help. political events, including candidate forums, we need to support. In political arena, there is only two things. You need to contribute to their election campaign and vote. Without that, we cannot succeed. If we can't do that, then we need to be a loser side of it, because we really need vote and contribution. Thank you very much. Okay, now I'll give it over to CIGC President Irshad Khan.